the deadlift for firemen and women is one of the most important exercises that you can do. Two reasons. One, it builds the most functional muscle mass. Two, it also is so specific to every job requirement that we have, i.e. lifting stretchers, moving our fellow firemen during testing, dragging dummies. All those things are very similar to the deadlift, and they share the same type of muscles. So with that being said, we utilize it as a test. We also utilize a sumo deadlift, which is a wider stance in order to keep the pressure off the lower back as much as possible and utilize hips. This will also aid you in being stronger with your feet in close. So what I always use with clients and firemen is strong wide, strong narrow. But it's not that way the other way around. You can be very strong with your feet in really close, but you move out wide, you can be very weak. So it's good to hit two birds with one stone on the deadlift. With that being said, the deadlift is a very simple tool as long as you know what you're looking for. So this is Bree, and when we have Bree do the deadlifts, we're going to go over some key points on what to look for. Once those points break or form gets to go south, then that's when we stop, and that's their max. We don't let them do things out of position. Now, as an assessment, we utilize the deadlift as a 1 rep maximum. That means how much can you pick up one time, not 10, not 15, not 20. We're not trying to develop a lot of endurance. That's what we use for kettlebell swings. Here we try to develop maximal strength, 1 RM. So for the deadlift, the good question is how much is enough? Well, in reality, the deadlift is never strong enough. We have probably 15 to 20 guys that can deadlift over 500 here at the fire service, and down at my gym with just general populations, we probably have another 25 to 30 guys that can deadlift over 550 pounds. So there is no real goal as far as top end, but what is important is that a deadlift usually at body weight would be considered a beginner level deadlift. So if a guy weighs 200 and he can deadlift 200, that would be considered beginner. If he can deadlift 1.5 times body weight, I would put him at the moderate to medium range of strength. And if he can deadlift somewhere in 2 times body weight, then I would consider him highly elite. Now that would be broken down into body weight, and that would be very similar for women as well. There are plenty of women out there that can deadlift close to 400 pounds and still weigh 130 to 150. So with that being said, those ranges are not impossible to do. So I like to base deadlift ability off of body weight. Anything under or close to one times body weight is considered beginner. Anything 1.5 times body weight is considered intermediate, or right in the middle. And anybody that can deadlift 2 times body weight would be considered advanced. So now what we'll do is we'll go over sumo deadlift technique. The hand position on the deadlift is wherever it's comfortable. So what we do is usually utilize an under and an overhand. Most people like to take their dominant hand and put it over. I'm left-handed, so my hand would go over, and my weaker hand or my right hand would go under. Everybody has their own way of doing things, but in general, that's how most people pull. With that being said, we're going to walk Bree through a sumo deadlift. The first thing she's going to do is line her shins up with the circles on the bar. So there are some guide circles on the bar. Every bar has them, and that's where you want to line your shins up. The key when you line your shins up to the rings is to put your legs as close to the bar as possible. So she's going to go ahead and do that. So as you can see, her legs are out fairly far apart. This is going to utilize a lot of hip and glute activation. So this is what we want to get strong with this, okay? Secondarily, we want to get the back strong and the lower back strong where we have a lot of issues. The next thing that she's going to do is draw her knees apart, look towards the ceiling, and thrust her hips into the bar, causing her to stand up. Good. The bar stays back down. The bar stays close to her body. That way her leverage is optimal, and also it decreases injury significantly. So that's how you would do a proper sumo deadlift, and you would work up until you see technique start to falter. So this would be the frontal shot of the deadlift, and why the frontal shot is very important is we want to see the knees push away from midline on the body. That's the real key to getting the hips down and to avoid being in the wrong position when picking anything up. Irregardless of where your feet are at, if you're drawing your knees apart, i.e. pushing them this way, then your body is going to react a lot better to heavier lifting. So she's going to show you a front position, drawing the knees way out, picking the head way up, and drawing the knees out to pick that up. This is where we're going to show on the frontal view what will happen or go wrong in a deadlift from the front. So what she's going to do is she's going to pick this bar up and her knees are going to bow in. Now that's caused because her hips are inflexible and she wants to use her quadricep when her hips should be doing the work. So as you can see, her knees bow in and she's trying to put the pressure on the quad. You're going to see this quite a bit in your deadlifting. You want to make sure that you're drawing your knees apart in order to activate the proper muscles, whether it's picking up a patient or a deadlift. When maxing, you're looking for muscles to not do what they're supposed to do. Remember, this is an assessment tool. We're looking for things to work on. So Bree's going to do a deadlift utilizing almost all back muscles and no legs. She's going to make her legs fairly straight. A lot of people deadlift this way because they're not flexible enough to get down to the bar. Well, if you're not flexible enough to get within 10 inches of the floor, imagine what your back posture is going to look like when you got to pick something up completely from the ground. This is why it's important to be flexible and strong. So she's going to reach down and pick it up straight-legged. Good. And she's going to deadlift it from there. That would be considered bad form. Go ahead and set it down. That's going to utilize all lower back and all hamstring. Two areas that we need to work on, but we don't want to isolate them with this exercise. So if you were to see this, then you would know that flexibility is probably an issue, as well as upper back posture. So they're just not comfortable getting that low. So flexibility would be a key.